Thank you. Thank you so much. Ken Filiano on bass. I'm David Haney on piano. And Bernard Purdie. Bernard Purdie on drums. Okay. So we're going to tell another story. This is 51 years ago and 4 days. There was a recording at a studio in New York. It was for the In a Silent Way album. And this is a story from John McLaughlin talking about his experience, his baptism of fire with Miles Davis. My name is John McLaughlin. I was born in Doncaster, England in 1942. I had older brothers going off to college and bringing back all kinds of music. And so I got turned on to Miles Davis at a young age. Now, I'd met Miles when I came to New York. I was invited by Tony Williams to join his band. And I'd met Miles the night before at the Club Baron, which is up in Harlem. I'd arrived the day before, as I said, to play with Tony. And Tony's lifetime, I got real lucky. I was in the right place at the right time. Because Miles wasn't exactly happy about losing Tony, because he loved Tony. We all did. But Tony still had this week left at the Club Baron to finish off with Miles. So the next day, I ran into Miles. And he said, "Bring your guitar into the studio." I don't think his voice was screwed up at that point, but bring your guitar into the studio. And man, that was it. It was like, I was a nervous wreck. This was like my idol, Miles Davis, telling me to come into the studio. I mean, I'd been following him since 58 and 59, and Tony I'd met in 64 in Miles' band. Okay, so I was thrilled. I was just thrilled. So then when he says, like, bring your axe into the studio, so okay. So I arrived, and of course nobody knew that a guitar was coming. They said to Miles that there was no guitar part. So they had to make this photocopy real quick of a Joe Zolino part. And so we ran it down a couple times, and I just read the piano part, and the top part, and Miles said, "Stop. Stop that." And he looked at me. And it's like, "So play that on the guitar." And I said, "So you want me to play the chords and everything?" He said, "Everything." I said, "Well, it's a piano part. It's not a guitar part. Is that a fact?" He said. I mean, I was already sweating blood. And so he's waiting for me to play it, and I'm going to take a minute. It's going to take a while. And he wasn't happy about that. And he's looking at me, and I mean, the whole studio has just stopped. And everyone was in there wondering what was going to happen next. And he turns around to me, and he says, "Play the guitar like you don't know how to play." He was a Zen master. And of course, I heard other guys say, "Oh man, that's a new one. I've never heard that one before." Because Miles was known for his cryptic remarks and cryptic instructions to musicians. So anyway, I said, got to do something. And I threw all the chords out. And I played E. Everybody knows E. And off I went. And Miles had the lights out, and I didn't know what was going on. And I was just on cloud 9 and sweating and everything. And we finished it. And Miles loved the take. He loved it so much, he put it on the opening of side 1 and the closing of side 1. These were vinyl days. And that was my baptism fire with Miles Davis. Thank you. Okay, my name is Gunther Hampel. Gunther Hampel. I'm from Gertington. Gertington. That's in Germany. I was born in 1937. I always wanted to come to the U.S. because this is the birthplace of jazz. And for me it was easy because my wife was Jean Lee, the singer, and so I came. Okay, what I want to do is tell you a very short story about the message of jazz. There was this concert in New York in one of those churches, and all famous musicians from with Dixieland and swing, and went all the way up to the modern times. And I and Perry Robinson, who was in my band at the time, we were invited to join. It was, okay, so they started playing the Dixieland, and we joined right in. And they said, well, wait a minute, these are free players, they don't know how to play Dixieland music. But we didn't wait. We joined the band with our clarinets. We played Dixieland. We played swing. Yeah, okay. So, and then it came to the more modern times. And a lot of these people stopped playing. But there was this old trombone player. His name was J.C. Higginbottom. He played with Louis Armstrong and all that. And when we were at the free part, he couldn't stand up anymore. And so we sat down. And when we were all finished, he said, "You call this free? I've been playing this my whole life." And that's the message of jazz. Thank you. Thank you. At this point, we're going to have... Thank you. Art Barron on trombone. Okay. This is another story. This is a trumpet player named Eddie Gale. Eddie Gale was with Sun Ra, with a bunch of other people. Sun Ra called him the original avant-garde trumpeter because he'd make him stand right next to the piano rather than in the horn section, and he'd just point to him, and he'd make just an amazing solo. So that's Eddie Gale. And this is about when he met John Coltrane. Okay, hi. My name is Eddie Gale. I was born in Brooklyn in 1941. Now, you know, when I reflect on the internet, I go back to the teachings of the master Sun Ra. He had the whole idea of space. He was like teaching this in the 50s. It was just, that's just what the internet's about, you know? It's like, it's all taking place in cyberspace. Space, music, the creativeness of the lyric by Sun Ra, space is the place. Okay. So, I remember playing with John Coltrane. And the first time this happened was at the Half Note in Manhattan. And it was a stormy night. I'm not kidding. It was a stormy night. And I'd been waiting to deal with John. And a friend of mine talked me into going over there. The club was packed. John was standing there with Elvin Jones and McCoy Tyner and Jimmy Garrison. And there were several other musicians there. And John was he was letting people play on the stage. People that were into the music, he'd let them play. There's Pharoah Sanders was there, and Dewey Johnson, a few other cats. They're all lined up to play. So I went over to John and I said, Mr. Coltrane, my name is Eddie Gale. I'm a trumpet player from Brooklyn, and I'm here to play with you. Well, he glanced over at the line of cats waiting at the stage and said, I gotta see. I don't know yet. I said, well, thank you, Mr. Coltrane. And I turned to walk away. But he said, wait a minute, let me see about what happens. And they all heard him. So we all got a chance to play, but I was the last one. And so I didn't really know, I played, and afterwards, John came up to me and he said, what did I take to be able to play that way? And I didn't really know what he was talking about. I said, well, Mr. Coltrane, I don't take anything. So John and I became pretty tight after that. And he was encouraging me to stay in touch with him. And during that time, I was between day jobs and I had to pawn my trumpet. I told John about it. And he made me come down to Birdland, where he loaned me $35 to get my horn out. I said, Mr. Coltrane, I will definitely pay you back. He said, don't worry about it. Just don't stop playing that way. Now, I stayed in touch with John, but then I didn't stay in touch. I lost his number. He tried to contact me to make an album called Ascension. He couldn't get a hold of me, and he contacted Freddie Hubbard. That's my John Coltrane story. Art Barron on trombone. Ken Filiano on bass. I'm David Haney. Bernard Purdie.